And I think Terry, you were just mentioning right before the show that Gemini now has an ability to take
Yeah.
text and create a video. Is that right?
Yes. 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 So I was playing around. I'm like, hey, what are all the tools I get with my, Google Workspace subscription? And I'm looking through. I'm like, most of these I use. I'm like, Vid, what is that? And so I start playing around with it last week and creating some, content. And yeah, I said, hey, create me a 1 minute video on HIPAA and privacy. And I was astonished with what it delivered. I'm like,
Mm.
wow.
This is the future, y'all. Y'all have to get on board with this. You can't just say, "Oh, that's for the kids or whatnot," because you'll look up in 5 years and this is part of your job, and you have no idea how to use it, right?
So
Yes,
that's
yes,
what he meant by I don't believe when anyone says, because I may ask you a question and you're going to give me a very confident answer based on what you thought I said. But
yes,
let me probe that a little further to say,
yes.
okay, so this is what I heard you say. Is this what you meant?
Mhm.
No, that's not what I meant at all. Oh,
Exactly,
okay.
exactly,
That
exactly.
in human terms, that in chat GPT terms, that is an hallucination. That
Mhm.
person gave you a confident answer back,
That's good. That's a great example. Yes. Yeah,
right? So,
yeah.
but we have to drive in. Why did we most likely ask that follow-up question? Because of our experience and our knowledge and
Yes,
our understanding on what it is we're talking about. And we're
yes.
like, oh, I heard that, but I don't know if that was quite what I was looking for. Or they didn't seem as confident in that answer and they were kind of all around, kind of all around the question without really answering it directly.
Mhm,
So
mhm.
it's no different, right, than when you talk with a human being. The first time someone gives you a quick answer back, you're like, okay, let me dig into that a little more. It's the same thing, guys. So that principle of trust but verify, it still exists.
That's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. That's perfect. And here's a pro tip. Pro tip for using these Gen AI tools. And I don't know how many people really have caught on to this. I've caught on to it because of the workflow that I do, and it's been extremely helpful. Feedback. Okay. What do I mean by that? When you ask it to give you something specific, right? You take the time to create a really well thought out prompt and you ask it to give you something very, very specific. The next question I ask it is, give me feedback on what you just gave me based on what I asked you. It will
Mm.
review it and say, you know what? You're right. I missed this. Let me correct that for you. Right. And I'll go through that feedback loop until it's perfect. Right. So, but most people don't really realize that ChatGPT can do feedback on itself. Right. So pro tip, put that into your prompts. Right. So, like the prompts that I have, well, I may have like four different sections, and I'll say pause when you finish section one and don't proceed until um, I acknowledge. Right. And it'll give me what I know or want. And it'll say, okay, would you like to move forward? I'll say, no, I want you to give me feedback on what you just produced. And it'll say, oh, you know what? I missed this. And let me correct that. Right. Don't take it at face value the first time. Right. Take the time to review it yourself. Right. And you can even use the tool itself to give its own feedback to improve the output. Right. So feedback loops are really important. But yeah, no, great, great. Yeah, trust but verify. That really sums it up, Terry. I think that's killer. And let's talk about the second biggest, probably bigger than hallucination, risk of using Gen AI, which is data leakage. So data leakage is the number one risk in using GI, in using Gen AI, because if you input sensitive information, sensitive data into generative AI, client names, financial strategy, that information could be stored, logged, or used in ways that compromise privacy, especially on free and unsecure platforms. So, what does that mean? If you go and sign up for a free version of ChatGPT or a free version of Gemini, it can do all these wonderful things that we just talked about. But That the Gen AI model itself is what's called a large language model. It basically, think of it as a big database of information. It's constantly training itself to get better based on the information that's in that database. When you use free tools, anything you put into that tool becomes part of that database that is now retraining and relearning on. So what does that mean? That means that if you put sensitive information in there, right? Because a lot of people do this, they're careless. They'll just put in, documents from their company that have sensitive information in it to get a response. And they don't understand that now that data is part of the large language model. And if other people who are using the tool ask the same similar questions, that your data will now come up. So now you have a data breach. Please hear us when we say this. Do not do this. Okay. And it's very clear to understand when you use a free tool, that data is not private. So what you have to do is you have to use it with sanitized data, right? You have to use it with data that doesn't have any particulars or specifics in it, right? Once it gives you the framework of the output that you want, you can copy that in and change it when you put it into, your company systems, right? And I think there, Terry, well, before we move forward, any thoughts on that point there?
Yeah, basically, man, it's personal identifiable information, right? Really, we just have to protect it. And you know, it's that sensitive information, right? And yeah, just be diligent, right? Due diligence.
Yeah,
Due diligence.
yeah, yeah. So let's talk a little bit more about how you can use Gen AI tools with, that sensitive information. So um, each tool has its own level, or each platform has its own level. You have the free version where everybody can get in and use it, right? Again, none of that data is protected, right? So never put sensitive information into that. But then you'll have the paid version, right? Which they'll give you tools to protect your data, right? So Copilot, which is one of the leaders in the industry, especially in business, if you have a Microsoft subscription with your company, that Copilot data may be secured, right? Always check with your company to find out what its Gen AI policy is.
Correct.
That is critical. You need to understand, okay, what is my company saying is the approved Gen AI policy for me to use with my company's data? That could be the difference between a data leak and termination, right? This is very, very serious. You do not want to put your company's data in a free tool, because now you're accountable for a possible data leakage if you did put, like Terry said, PII in there, right? But check with your company again on their Gen AI policy. Hey, can I use Gen AI here? Can I not use Gen AI here? Again, what you do at home obviously is your own personal space, but you just want to be very mindful that you do not save sensitive information in a public Gen AI tool. Um, Now, here's the thing: there are some tools, again, like the paid version of ChatGPT is something that I pay for. It gives me the ability to tell it, "Do not use any of my data to retrain your model." Okay, so I pay to make sure that that doesn't happen, but the free version doesn't have that capability, right? So definitely use at your own risk, but be smart about it, right? Do not put sensitive information into to Gen AI tools unless your job is giving you a sanctioned tool to be able to do that with. So
Yeah,
go ahead, Jer.
yeah, and I think, Ref, one thing I'd add to that too, right? And so some companies have the ability to have data loss prevention policies that won't allow you to do that. But here's what will happen, right? If you hit that particular control, then yeah, you may get an email. Hey, we recognize were trying to place, some IP or PII into some kind of AI tool that is non-sanctioned. Now, you know, more than likely in that scenario, you're probably going to get a warning. But what we want to do is equip you on the front end to
Yeah.
understand how to use the tool. It's no different than when you get behind the wheel of a car, right? When you first started, being trained to drive, you stop at a four-way intersection. You let the person to the right go, right? When you come
Mhm.
to a yield sign, that's not slow. That's not a roll and stop. It's
Mhm.
really like, stop and look, then
Yeah,
go. So
yeah,
that's all what we're doing here, right? These are just normal, basic exercises that you do when you get on the road of AI, right? So what I want to do is kind of normalize it in terms of this is what you do when using these tools,
that's right.
right? Now that we're introducing you, we're also introducing you into the framework of how to be safe. No different than when you started getting online, right?
That's right.
Don't click on, don't go to websites that you don't know, right? This is no different than that, right?
That's right.
There are modes and operations, methods on how you carry out, even on being on Facebook, right? There are things that we taught you or folks taught you how to effectively be on Facebook without being scammed, right?
Right.
All of these kind of things. So this is not for you to be fearful or afraid. Feel like, oh no, I'm being equipped.
That's right.
So that's the
That's right.
main point I want to bring out here.
That's great. That's great. That's great. So think about it like this: data leaks don't happen because AI is evil. They happen because people forget that AI is not private by default, right? So, think before you type, protect your data, use secure settings, right? Because Gen AI is powerful, but you are responsible for what you share, right? So don't forget that. That's a very important point. And then, so lastly, what we wanted to cover was again tool that we use, almost daily, which is ChatGPT. Again, to Terry's point, there's ChatGPT, there's Copilot, there's Google Gemini, there's Claude, there's a few others out there, right? You have to find the tool that's best for you. ChatGPT was the first to the game, right? They were the ones who created Gen AI first and beat everyone else to the market. So they have a more mature product. um, they have three different versions. A free version, right, which you can just go to chatgpt.com and sign up. It gives you basic features, text generation, no web, no file tools, no memory. If you sign up for the plus version, at the time of this recording, which was about $20 a month, you get web browsing, file uploads, image analysis, memory and personalization, access to ChatGPT plugins, best used for daily pro use, content creation, and learning. That's the one I do personally. I actually create images with it, right? And it's pretty good when you get good with your prompt engineering and you can tell it, hey, I want this person to be on the left side. I want the words on the right side to be in bold. I want them to be centered. I want them to be around this size font. I want them to be this color, right? Or a gradient and I want this person's image to have this type of expression. When you can get you very granular down into your prompts, you can create images like that are they are so
Wow.
good that it would take me 10 times the time to try to create that on my own. And when I say
Wow.
that, I'm talking about the nuance. I'm talking about the shadow on certain side of the face, right? That I wouldn't be able to just naturally generate myself, right? So it can definitely, supercharge some things there. And I think Terry, you were just mentioning right before the show that Gemini now has an ability to take
Yeah.
text and create a video. Is that right?
Yes, yes, yes. So I was playing around. I'm like, hey, what are all the tools I get with my, Google Workspace subscription? And I'm looking through. I'm like, most of these I use. I'm like, Vid, what is that? And so I start playing around with it last week and creating some, content. And yeah, I said, hey, create me a 1 minute video on HIPAA and privacy. And I was astonished with what it delivered. I'm like,
Mm.
wow.
This is the future, y'all. Y'all have to get on board with this. You can't just say, "Oh, that's for the kids or whatnot," because you'll look up in 5 years and this is part of your job, and you have no idea how to use it. Right? You gotta embrace this stuff. You
So
gotta embrace this stuff.
so great point there too, Ref. Let me share a quick story. So Noah and I, as a part of my, I want to be a great dad. I said, man, hey, Monday mornings are yours. And so, we go out and we play nine, or he plays nine. I just kind of walk and watch. Anyway, so we meet some just fantastic people every time we go out and play. So I met a couple new grads this past week, and a gentleman who graduated with a degree in accounting. And he was like, man, I was kind of concerned because I just graduated with an accounting degree and AI is out there and am I going to be obsolete? And I'm like, Yeah, again, same thing. I share the same thing. Your expertise will be needed. Um, it'll be a while anyway because a lot of these companies, the processes are manual, and so your ability to beef up and be prepared. And he was like, I'm glad you said that because he's got some friends who owns companies. And I love what he shared. He says, yes, I've been going in and volunteering or, kind of interning with them and looking at their processes and automating workflows. He's like, I'm teaching myself as I go. I said, son, you you're doing it the right way. I could not I could have gave the guy a hug, to be honest with you. I said, because that is it, right?
Mhm.
Your inquisitiveness about it didn't stop with just let me see what I can do or let me see, if I no, he put himself in a position in a real world scenario where he could actually take his skill set,
Mm.
go into a place. Again, this was, not everyone might have this opportunity, but he took advantage of that opportunity to actually go in, look at workflows, leverage his skill set and what he knows about numbers and accounting and finance, and start to automate. I said, here's the benefit for you. It's because he doesn't start his job until October. You get to go in there with a portfolio of AI prompts that you can say, here's my AI portfolio.
Yes.
And it's a matter
Yes.
of just taking the step,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
getting in there, jumping in, because again, those who take the initiative,
Yes.
right? Those
Yes.
who have I said, if for nothing else, when the conversation comes up, you will be able to um, articulate in an educated manner and have conversation about the creativity and how you've leveraged it, how you've seen other business leverage it, right?
Mhm,
And that's
mhm.
gonna open up opportunity for you.
That's
So,
right.
I mean,
That's right. That's right.
I
That's
mean,
right.
it was a great example of it, right?
Right.
Freshly out of college.
I'm glad you brought that up, Terry. People don't understand that those who want to go on the technical track, right? This is for you. Two things. Your ability to upskill yourself in AI is going to set you apart. So Meta, formerly known as Facebook, has been hiring a super AI intelligence team, right? So yeah, it may not have come across most of your radar, but they have. Mark Zuckerberg, the owner, he wants to create the a team of the most elite AI producers in the world. He contracted to pay somebody, I believe it was it was either 100 or $300 million over 10 years for this,
Think about that.
right? The industries already understand that this is where it's going. Okay. To Terry's point in his example with that young man, every company in the world has a ton of inefficient processes. There's a sea of them because we've all been doing things manually for so long. If you can tap into AI and automate and be able to produce efficiency. Okay. Efficiency, right? Efficiency is a metric that's used to determine how profitable a company is. If you can automate, you know, um, processes that are inefficient and make them efficient, save time, right? You be able to do these types of things. That is value. That is value that people are willing to pay you for today, right now. And AI is so new that I mean, you can go get an AI certificate right now, and it'll put you light years ahead of anybody else that's trying to do this on their own, right? The opportunity is there, right? When I came into IT, I came into IT in the late 90s when Windows NT was just going into businesses, right? They were still using green screens, at that time. And so when they were switching
Yep.
over from green screens to Windows, that's when I got into technology and I was able to ride that wave in my career, right? Because I stayed on top of the technology. The businesses were moving that fast. The education system couldn't catch up because they hadn't learned how to educate people on this stuff. I was getting technical certifications in this stuff. The business is like, hey, I need that right now. we'll pay you this, we'll pay you that. There is another wave that's happening right now, and it's with AI,
Correct.
right?
Correct.
So I
Correct.
love to hear that.
Correct.
I love to hear that
Correct.
example.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
and and Ralph, to your point, right? That Windows, the beauty of what you did is as Windows transitioned over the years from PCs, then it went to virtualization. The foundation of it was still a Windows OS,
That's right.
right? Then it went into Citrix, right? Well, was Citrix then virtualization?
Right.
That foundation that you learned in the early 90s, that carried you 20 years, bro.
It did. It did. And I recognize that at the time, and I like to say I was smart enough to see that, oh man, there's this certain gap
Yeah.
in time and I'm gonna jump into it.
Yeah.
That's not how it happened
Yeah.
for me. I was just chasing my passion. It just happened to be at that time. Now
Yeah.
20, 5 years later, I look back, I see, man, I got it in a wave. I got
Yes.
it in a wave that actually
Yep.
opened up door after door after door. So I could
Yep.
see that pattern repeating again with
Yep.
AI. Right.
Yep.
So if for those young folks out there who are interested in getting into something that's going to be cutting edge, that it can make you a lot of money. And I'm talking about a lot of money. I just told you the top people are getting paid up to like $300 million over 10 years. No, I've never heard anybody making that kind of money in a job.
No.
Maybe a
No.
business owner, but not a job. Right.
Yes.
If you want to get into some significant upside on compensation, AI is your way to go. You just got to find your entry point, right? Let's just talk about the takeaways for today. Gen AI does not think, you do, so you got to
Yep.
use it wisely, right?
Yep.
Learn prompt engineering. Prompt engineering is needed to unlock the real value in Gen AI. You really need that. Protect your company and your career from data leaks, right? You got to be smart with your settings and your tools and what you input into them, right? And then choose a tool that meets your requirements, right? Take a look at all of them, try them out. Again, don't put any personal sensitive information in them, but try them out. Start learning the prompt engineering. You can do that, for free. There are courses out there. We'll put some links in the show notes for you to check out. And there's just some. I mean, you can go to YouTube and look up prompt engineering and start learning right now, right? There's nothing standing between you. There's no barrier to entry, I guess is what I'm trying to say. But find the tool that works and matches your workflow and your privacy needs. But any closing thoughts on that, Terry?
Yeah, no, Gen AI, man, that is a great place to start. There are some other models coming out. But what we wanted to focus on today was Gen AI. And, as time moves forward, we'll introduce the other generative, I guess there's agentic AI,
Yes.
and that does have an ability to be creative.
Yes.
But we just wanted to give you a intro and a great place to start because the majority of the opportunity right now for what I would say just the entry level point is this generative AI. So it's a great place to start.
Absolutely. Well, thank you as always. We appreciate you supporting the show and listening. I always want to ask, we want to hear from you, right? Go to our website, leadershipsovereignty.com /survey and take our listener survey and help us to improve the show for you so we can make it better. To support the show, you can always give a donation, right? leadershipsovereignty.com /donate, right? And until the next time, stay safe. And we'll talk to you. We'll see you on the next show. Thank you for listening to the Leadership Sovereignty Podcast. If this content blessed or helped you in any kind of way, support us today by subscribing to our YouTube channel, clicking the like button for this episode, and sharing this content with others that you think it will help. Until next time, stay safe, peace, and blessings.